Shalom Kalalayim, Layahawa Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of GMS, the Ruel, who I learned the truth from, and salutations and blessings unto you elect out there, brothers and few sisters that take heed in sincerity and in truth. So, the title of this lesson, this is from grunge.com, the tragic real-life story of the last member of the Yahai, right? And this is dealing with Gad. A tribe called Yahai, which is Hebrew, by the way, Yahai. All right. So, this is going into the pride of Esau, what they did to this man, right? It says in his lifetime, Ishi watched as his people were literally wiped off the face of the earth. From the 1840s to the 1870s, many native people living in the California territory were either murdered or kidnapped, which led to the destruction of countless native groups. Ishi came from the Yahai, a subgroup of the Yana people, which is also Hebrew. Yana. See, so that was a larger group and they were called the Yahai. Alright? And after hiding in the forest for years, surviving numerous massacres, he became known as the last Yahai after wandering into Oroville, California in 1911. Despite his experiences, Ishi was often described as remarkably affable and friendly, but he was exploited to the end of his life and even afterward by those seeking to advance their careers. Housed at the Phoebe Hearst Museum of Anthropology, he became a living exhibition for white visitors to marvel at. Right? And that's what they did with him. They made him a public spectacle. And these things existed. You had human zoos, man, with Jake, Latin tribes, Gad, Issachar, just on display, man. Judah, Reuben, right? And Esau would come and look, make fun, come with the whole family. Many of these stories remain untranslated, and even at the time of their telling, few understood the last breaths of the Yahai language. Ishi died in 1916, but his body still suffered the consequences of scientific racism. Now down here it says a short history of the Yahai people. Now I just want to bring this out, man. This says Jeremiah 49 and 9, right? If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, till they will destroy till they have enough. And this is going into the nature of a thief, right? A thief comes, you know what I'm saying? They come into your house, they take, they see a nice TV, they take, maybe it's two people. They take the TV and then they might see something else and they take it, but they're not going to sweep the whole friggin' house. But this man, he'll come to your territory, your land, your house, right? Your sovereign land, and he'll, as the scripture said, will there not be some gleaning grapes, man, in the corner? No, he's going to take that. Is there not going to be something left? No, we're going to use everything, man. Because he's a user. He's a user. He's a destroyer. Right? That's why he gives two shits about the land Sabbath. And that's why when they what do you call it? When they talk about, there's no minerals in the soil. Right? Well, there's no minerals in the soil because all you do is deplete the soil by constantly farming, right? Constantly tilling and farming and not giving the land the rest on the 7th year. So there's your consequence. But no, Esau said, look, we got lab. We can grow this shit now. I'm going to be like the Most High. Verse 10, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. And this is a precept to Obadiah 1 and 5 as well. It's the same thing. But Most High has made Esau bare, man. And this is one of those things where you can see, right? It says the Yana native people once lived in what is now considered California along the Sacramento River from the southwest of Lassen Peak to the Pitt River. Before the European invasion, there were 4 distinct groups within the Yana, Yahai, Northern, Central, and Southern Yana, all of whom spoke different dialects or were mutually intelligible. Now down here, let me just go. So the first encounter with the Europeans occurred in 1821 when a Mexican expedition stumbled upon the Yana, and after 1828, land grants were occasionally given to Mexicans in Yana territory. It's estimated that the Yana initially numbered between 1,500 and 3,000, within which the Yahai numbered around 400 per the University of California. It says, but once Anglo trails and settlements began invading through Yana territory, the conflicts became more and more brutal. And once Mexicans gave control of California over to the United States in 1846, the United States began a genocide that claimed the lives of thousands of native people in the territory. While this genocide was propagated by the claims that white people were in danger, according to Genocide and the Indians of California by Margaret A. Field, less than 50 deaths of white people can be contributed to the Yana. Right, so it says the horrors of the gold rush for the Yahai, as encounters with Spanish Mexicans brought an endemic and epidemic disease to Yana people, along with the destruction of their food supply. The discovery of gold in California was about to have another devastating effect. According to Newsweek, starting in 1848, white civilians, along with the United States Army, set out on mass killings in order to labor much longer in the mines with security. Once gold was discovered, over 90,000 potential gold miners flooded into Northern California. Soon the invading white settlers had completely destroyed the native food supply, and when native people went after white people's sheep and cattle, they were attacked even more heavily in retaliation. Many of the state militias, at least 24 of whom were authorized by California lawgivers or governors, also enjoyed a great deal of financial support from the government. According to the Los Angeles Times, in the 1850s, the California state legislature passed 3 bills that allocated up to $1.5 million for anti-native militias. Most of this money often went to the bounties paid to white people for their weapon supply and for the deaths of native people. According to Indian Country Today, the payment for bounty was 25 cents per scalp and $5 for a whole head. Right? And this is what was going on, man. These devils, man. It says in 1850, the state of California also legalized their indentured servitude of native people and native prisoner leasing. This led to an increase of violent kidnappings and regular arrests between 1850 and 63. Upwards of 10,000 native people were indentured or sold. All right, so it says Ishi was between 5 and 6 when he and his family survived the Three Knolls massacre in 1866, following the Workman and Silva massacres of 1865, which claimed the lives of over 70 Yahai, whose children were sold to local ranchers. And like we always bring up, man, these are regular Edomites, miners, farmers, laborers, whatever. And you actually had people turning from those jobs into militias against Gad, right, to clear them out, because as you see, they were paid by the government, right? So pretty much these fucking devils, man, you know, that could be your new career, right? Pretty much. It says Ishi and his mother managed to escape by floating amongst the dead bodies down Deer Creek. In 1871, they also survived the Kingsley Cave massacre and went into hiding. According to Native Americans in philanthropy, only 15 people survived the massacre that claimed the lives of 30 Yahai. As a result of starvation, disease, and massacres, the population of the Yana was reduced by 95% between 1850 and 1870. It says, in an attempt to avoid the genocidal invaders, what remained of the Yana and the Yahai hid out and lived in isolated canyons in an attempt to avoid detection. Britannica explains, during this time, Yana of all ages who were working on farms and living in towns were also targeted. When several young Yana girls were murdered in front of their employers, the leader reportedly declared, "We must kill them, big and little." So what do you expect in the kingdom, man, for you Edomites? All right, this is not the top elite, the oligarchs. You know, this is not even the president, man. These are regular schmegular Edomites, man. All right, Joe Sixpack. You know, the ones watching the game right now, drinking beer, right? Through a straw hat. Same degenerate Edomites, man. You're gonna get the same treatment. Right? It says Ishi and his family hid out in the canyons undetected for over 40 years until a group of surveyors stumbled upon their camp in 1908. Ishi was reportedly fishing when the surveyors saw him, and according to Ishi in Two Worlds, a biography of the last wild Indian in North America, when Ishi noticed the surveyors, he mentioned them emphatically back, saying over and over something which surely meant go away. Right now down here, all right, I'm going to start here. Ishi soon caught. Now, by the way, Ishi, this name, it was not his name per se, all right, but it was a name that was given to him, all right. But that name Ishi in the Yahai means man, and this is actually a Hebrew word because the word man in Hebrew is ayash. All right, ayash. When you go, because you have Adam as well, which means man, but really Adam goes back to Adama, which means of the ground. But if you go a little, like for example, I guess let's go Chronicle or King. All right, the word, just like British, Brit means, or Barayath, which means covenant, and Ish, which means man. Right here, right, Ayash. That's how you say man. So this is all spiritual, man. This man, they called him Ishi, the last wild Indian. Right, so Ishi soon caught the attention of Alfred L. Kroeber and T.T. Waterman, both of whom were anthropologists at the University of California. Within 2 days of Ishi's discovery, Waterman was on a train ready to take ownership over Ishi. Although the Bureau of Indian Affairs sought to relocate Ishi onto a reservation as a word of the government, Kroeber convinced them to give him guardianship over Ishi and resettle him instead into the Phoebe A. Hearst Museum of Art and Anthropology of the University of California. You know, and it says Ishi spent the rest of his life living at the Museum of Art and Anthropology of the University of California, Berkeley. In addition to Kroeber's studies about Yahai culture and language, the museum employed Ishi as a janitor for $25 per week. But according to the Phoebe A. Hearst Museum of Anthropology, Ishi spent most time on display for white museum audiences. As observers watched, Ishi fashioned arrows out of colored glass and obsidian, and there's no historical evidence that shows if Ishi had a choice in the matter. You know, and that was pretty much the end of him, man. You know, and that was, you know, as it says here, Ishi's real name is not in fact Ishi. This moniker was given to him by Kroeber, and it's actually just a word for man in the Yana language. According to Native Americans state by Rick Sapp, in the Yahai culture, tradition required that a person not speak their own name unless formally introduced by another Yahai. Alright, so they weren't even given his name, but that's spiritual Ishi. Alright, so I hope you're edified. I want to say Kahalayim Le Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Racha Akwarash, double honors to the apostles of GMS that rule well, and salutations and blessings to you elect.